All right. So tonight, like I said, we're going to go through what Trello is all about and give you some tips on how to use it. We're going to do some team updates and news about what's happening and what the next couple months look like. So we're going to kick it off with Trello. I don't know if you guys want to do a show of hands of who have had a chance to check it out. If you can, just raise
has arrived.
If you have
Jacqueline has arrived.
Tonight, or after tonight, I should say. All right, we got a few takers. All right. Okie dokie. So Trello is basically an online sharing platform. So I know that we've used Yahoo Groups in the past, but saving documents and things that you find online, it's really hard. And so during our team reviews, it was suggested that we have something where we can easily share. So, you know, aside from trying to do like a Pinterest page just for us, but other people could see, I didn't know what else to do, and I came across Trello. So it's very similar to Pinterest in the sense that you get to pin things and save things, and you get a little bit more that comes with it, but it's private. It also, there's a free app, so you can download the Trello app, and in this way you can check it out wherever you're at from your phone. And it's free, so you can't beat that, right? So let's see, let's take a look at some of the things that you can do. So this is a sample, a screen from one of the pages. This is from the start of our page. And currently we only have a few boards set up. We can set up more. You guys can create more boards. When I was just starting it out, I just started a Baja board, figuring, you know, we'd start resources for Baja, but, you know, you can do resources for cochlear implants, ASL resources, unilateral loss, you know, syndromes, whatever you guys want to create a board on, we can certainly do that. And then if you find interesting articles, information, or resources that you really like, you save them within that board. So these blue boxes, those are the boards that we have. And then when you click on those, they have what they call lists within those boards, which I kind of think of like subtopics. And then within those subtopics are cards. And so those cards are those specific things to relating to that subtopic. So for instance, if we started up a board for syndromes, have your syndromes board, and then when you open it up, it could have golden, now I can't think of, syndrome, nice. Golden HAR would be a subtopic, and then within that golden HAR list, you would have your links for your golden HAR resources. And the other thing, too, is Trello has lots of online tutorials, videos, really easy to use and learn about how to make Trello work for you. And so this next one here gives a better look at the board itself as team calendar. And then the list, that first column, is team training. And then within team training, we have July, September, October, November. Those months have their own things. And then each one of those has the link to that training. So if you didn't get the WebEx reminder or the WebEx reminder doesn't have the link and you can't find the original thing, you could go to Trello and just go to team training and click on that and get the link that way. Okay, so that is one of the screenshots that breaks it down a little bit better. So you might be wondering, okay, how does this help me? It allows you to share information with the team. You can message specific members. Maybe you're working on a PowerPoint that you guys are co-presenting. or maybe you saw somebody looking for something and you want to make sure that they see it. You can share, edit documents for editing. You can kind of like pin, they don't use that word, but you can pin. If you're not on mute, make sure you mute. Thanks. So you can pin to share posts and articles that you find, and I'll give you some tips on how to do that. You can create calendar boards, and it's one place for everything. And you can tag people in a post. Let's see. So one of the things when you open up a board, so this, like I said, this big blue background, that's the board for FEO events and other flyers. And then the far right, I have circled Show Menu. And you know, one of the benefits of doing that is it kind of expands on what you can do within that board. And so the next screen I'll show you that, what that looks like expanded. So when you open up the menu, you will see all the members. So see the initials at the top, and if you have a photo linked to yourself, your profile, then you'd have a photo instead of the initials. But those are all the members within that board. And then here's the activity list, what, you know, when things were put in within that board. Now, if you, in the middle of that oval, there's the word More. And the next screen here, we're going to kind of go into that. I've clicked on the More, and this opened up another menu. And so here's some things that you can do. One of the things is, say you're online on Pinterest and you find something, and you want to email that thing to this board. You can go to the email to board settings, and it will give you a specific email address that you can online punch in within Pinterest. So if you've been on Pinterest, there's a share button, so you can share with different ways, and one of the options is to email that Pinterest link. And so you would take this email address from that board and plug it in, and then it would be sent right to the board. I've done it that way. The other thing that I've done is I've just cut and pasted that link from wherever I was online. So I cut and paste the URL, and then I come back to Trello, to the appropriate board, to the appropriate list, and all I do is at the bottom of these gray rows here, you'll see it says Add a Card. You click on that, whichever one it's appropriate, whatever column it's appropriate for, and it'll open up one of those little white boxes, and then within that white box, you can paste your link. The other thing, too, is if you want to share this board with somebody, you can, the very bottom box there, cut and paste that link to share this board. And then one of the things that I really like is that subscribe button. There's the little eyeball with the word subscribe. You want to make sure if it's a board that's important to you and you want to be notified if there's an update, particularly maybe the calendar board that we have, then you want to make sure you subscribe to that board, so then anytime that board is updated, you would get notice of that. You can do it for every board. It's really up to you, but I thought that was a really nice feature. So within, and I'll back this up real quick here. Actually, you can see it here. Right to the left of this More oval, you'll see the word Calendar. Each of these blue boards has its own calendar. So anytime you put something in and you put a link to a date for that thing on that board, it'll automatically get filed into the calendar for that board. There's not, unfortunately, one general calendar that has everything in it. At least I couldn't figure that out. So the next slide shows I've clicked on that calendar, so the far right oval there. I've clicked on that calendar for the FEO events and other flyers, and this popped up with September, and it shows everything that was scheduled for September. And then you can click on those to get their links and so forth. So the other thing that I've found out recently is that there's some pretty neat shortcuts. So wherever you are, if you want to find a shortcut to do something, you can just hit the question mark, and it'll bring up your shortcut menu. For instance, if you're on a board and you want to subscribe, instead of going to the menu and then choosing subscribe, you can just type the letter S within that board, and then it will subscribe you to that board. If you want to kind of tag somebody to a card, you can just type in the ampersand, and it will allow you to tag the members. Like the members, I think, pop up, and you can select which ones you want. So there's a lot of different shortcuts, but these are some of the ones that I thought might be, might be something that you would use sooner than later. All right, so that is pretty much it for Trello. I know I didn't go too in-depth. I really want you guys to play around with it and see what you feel works for you. But so far, I haven't had any issues. Like I said, the best thing that I found that's helpful is I just go and wherever I am on the web, if I want to share that link to Trello, I just cut and paste that link into one of the boxes. That's quick and easy for me. And I'm not sure about you, but when my browser for Chrome, I have like 5, 6 tabs open, usually all at the same time. Hold on one second. Sandwiches. And so I just click back and forth between the tabs. It makes it quick and easy for me. So, all right. So heading on to maternity leave. I actually am going to start my leave the week before. I am tired and achy, and yes, so I'm going to take some time beforehand to get ready and all that kind of goodness. And half the week is a holiday anyhow. So I start next week Monday, and I'm back on January 11th. My C-section date has been moved up to November 30th, so there'll be a November baby, not a December baby. And while I'm gone, Lydia is going to continue to process timesheets and intakes during my leave. So don't stress about that. They'll turn in stuff like you normally do, send it to me, and whatever's appropriate for Lydia to process, I will send it to her, okay? If she does an intake, she's used to doing intakes because she does Spanish-speaking ones. So when she does an intake that is non-Spanish speaking, she will match them up with the appropriate guide and contact you and let you know. I'm not expecting a lot of intakes during this time anyhow, being that it is the holiday season, and we usually don't have very many during this time too. At least that's been the trend in the past. If you have any issues or questions during my leave, feel free to contact Lydia. If it's something that she is unsure of, you know, we'll work it out. We'll connect and get you an answer. But don't worry about bothering her or asking away. Andrea is also going to be out during the month of November or December. She is having surgery within, I think, that first week of December on her leg, or I think it's her ankle. A year ago, she injured herself, and the doctor said, you know, whatever. But she's come to realize a year later, after it's still hurting, that it's in a bad way. And so she's getting it fixed, finally, after that second opinion. So I would say you can always contact Andrea, but I'm not sure what pain medication she'll be on. So I stick with Lydia. So there you have it. I just wanted to clean up some stuff on timesheets. One of the things that we still struggle with is putting things in date order. It's extremely important, please, that you go from the oldest date to the most recent date. Don't flip-flop back and forth. It makes it very difficult for me when I process it. Make sure also you fill in all columns. We're going to talk about that in a second. Any attachments, outreach forms, what else? Receipts, reimbursement for additional trainings, those like training recap sheets, that all needs to be turned in with your timesheet. If you do not turn it in with your timesheet, I will not process your timesheet until they are submitted. So please make sure you turn it all in at the same time. If you have multiple timesheets, do not total up each timesheet because you're all doing it a little bit differently. If you have 2 pages, just put the final total on the second page. Do not total up the first page and then the second page because that might confuse me, and it has. So just do one final total at the very last sheet, please. To kind of go through the columns here, service date is the date the item happened. So if that's communicating with a family, training, whichever, that's the date you put in. And again, you start with the oldest date and work your way down to the most recent date. If it's a family, you would put the last name of the family in there. If it's a training, you would write the name of the training there. The third column is how you communicated with that family, or if it was a training, then you would say webinar or training. Progress note, so is this the first time you've talked with the family, or is this the 5th time? You know, you're supposed to be doing your progress notes as you work with the family. So which progress note is that particular call? What's that number? Is the child older than 6? It's just a Y or an N in that column, but please don't leave that out. We bill one set of folks for the Ys and one set of folks for the Nos, and I need to know which way it rolls. Family file open or closed. If you're continuing to work with the family, it should be open. If this is the last time you're working with the family, then you would say closed. If it's a training, obviously you don't fill that in. Same thing for progress note and older than 6. You just put a line through those boxes. Now, with the open and closed, if you're going to put closed, don't assume that I'm going to read that and say, oh, I'm going to go close that family. I need a separate email saying, please close this family, okay? When I process your timesheets, I'm just focused on making sure I get the dates and actions and all that kind of stuff correct, and not so much looking at who I need to close. Family time would be if you spent 45 minutes talking with that family, whatever time that is, you put it in there. The region color, some of you work with families outside of your color. So, for instance, Cook County is brown. And Lucy might work with a family, well, Lucy's no longer in brown, but if maybe she's working with a family in brown, but she has another family in blue, she would put that coloring in too, because that also makes a difference when we submit and bill for the reimbursement. We need to let them know kind of the areas of the state that we're servicing. Mileage time, if you had any travel that you did with that time, remember to convert the miles into time, so 1 minute per mile, and that's always rounding up to the quarter hour. Or, and then additional expenses, if you had a toll, again, I would need a receipt for that. Trying to think. I don't know. That's the best I can do with additional expenses at this time. And then total time. So, like I said, with trainings, you're not going to fill in most of these columns, just put a line through them. But for families, you would be filling in or putting a dash to the ones that don't apply. Okay? The other part that I want to touch on is the LRP stuff. So I know my timesheet might be a little confusing, so we're going to go through that in a second and talk it out. But if your activity affects your leveling, so say your the activity that you just did is working in the senior, checking off one of those senior boxes, then that's when you would put senior. If you're a lead and you're just getting points, I don't need to know that it's for the lead level or, you know, whatever level you're currently on. If it's just points, just list the points. Because I sit there and I look at these timesheets and I'm like, do they think that they're getting credit for a senior activity and points or something on that order? So I don't want to mess it up. So again, just if it's just points, just list the description and how many points. Don't put a level. Expenses. Remember, you're not reimbursed for tax, so don't put down an amount with tax. Only put down the pre-tax amount. And please try your best to turn in one timesheet a month so that we can be consistent with keeping up to date and not having webinars billed a month and a half, 2 months later. I billed the SEC, that's who we have our contract with, to cover most of our services the following month. So right now, I'm working on October's bill. So I need October billing done so I can make sure I bill them for everything appropriate. If I don't get October numbers from you, maybe additional trainings or whatever, until December or even the end of this month, and I've already submitted the bill, we kind of lose out because I can't back bill. Okay? Once I submit the bill for that month, it's done. So try to turn in at least one timesheet a month, please. So just quickly looking at the LRP, the first column there, date, would be the date, the activity that happened. The activity is maybe you hosted a family event. Did that apply to a particular level? Is that going to check off a box within that level? If so, yes. Which level did it check off box? Did you achieve points in doing that too? If you did, put the points down. If it's something that you did, maybe you posted on the Yahoo group or you had a family attend Parent Institute. Well, that isn't achieving any level, but it gives you points. So you would leave the level blank and then put in how many points. All right, so just to make sure we're all on the same page, annual training, it's going to be at the ISU Alumni Center in Normal, Illinois. The date is June 20th and 21st is the actual days the conference goes. So we might potentially be arriving the 19th because I think they start pretty early on the 20th. I'm waiting for more information just to make sure. We'll be sharing rooms again. And this conference that we're participating in is the Bridges Conference. So they invited us and thought that that might be something we could partake in. The nice thing about this is a conference that's geared towards deaf and hard of hearing educators and DTHs. So it's a great opportunity for you to meet those that might be servicing your area and just to make connections as well as really learn a variety of things. And the topics that they choose, they really do, I feel, have a nice, well-rounded selection and a little something for everyone. They did ask if we could partake in some time for each of you to introduce yourself to all of them, all the attendees there. So basically, we'll be letting them know who you are, just a little bit, a snapshot of yourself, and we'll talk more about that as it gets closer. But the nice thing about doing so, again, these providers get to know you better. They'll feel more comfortable making those referrals. And then they also wanted, and I don't know what this will look like, again, as we get closer, I'll have more information, but they also asked if there would be an opportunity for some of you to share samples of how you help families, not specifically, you know, the name and location of the family, obviously, but a family came to you looking for this, and this is how their situation turned out. Kind of some proof in the pudding examples. So, as we approach another annual training, that's typically the time we bring anyone new into the team. I'm not quite sure if that's going to happen. I have mixed feelings on it all. One area that we don't have any coverage for is the red region. I'm pretty sure that's the right region. It's the LaSalle and DuPage and that area. I think it was LaSalle. Anyhow, that was the area that Pauline and Andrea were in, and there's nothing there. So, with that being said, that would be an area that could definitely use somebody, but can we make do is kind of one of my things. I also like to have somebody over in the Springfield area, and we don't. Now, that is Anita's region, but she's a little further east, so that makes things a little bit difficult. And then, of course, we always have the northwestern top part of the state that we traditionally don't find any families applying. That's an area that we struggle with. So, if this happens, we would have a call for applications possibly as early as mid-January. This would give us time to take in the applications, do kind of like a what is Guide by Your Side webinar, review the applications, go through interviews, and then, of course, the process of hiring, and then still having enough time to pre-train before that in-person training in June. So the reason why I bring all this up to you guys is, one, I'd love feedback if you feel like, you know what, we can definitely use more help, or, you know, I feel like I don't get enough and I'd love to cover an area that we struggle with. To, oh, I know somebody in that area that I think would be good. But then also, if you're not planning on staying another year as a guide, I kind of need to know those things. Because I don't want to go through the process of putting this all out, hiring everyone, and then you telling me in July, you know what, I think this coming year I'm going to have to bid adieu. That's not going to help me and our team. And I know that there are things we certainly don't plan for, and I get that, but I hope that you would be honest with me if you have any inclination that things might be changing in the future. The other thing I really appreciate, if that's the case, I really appreciate a phone call. A text or an email saying I'm done is, I don't know, kind of cold. And I know I shouldn't take it personally, but I do when that happens. So, with that being said, I'm hormonal. Be nice. Let me down easy. No, so we really have a great team, and I think that's the other thing, too, that keeps me from, do we expand what we got, or do we just stick with what's really working for us? So there you have it. And that is it for what I had to get through tonight. Are there any questions on anything? Do you need me to back up?
Carrie, this is Jacqueline.
I have a question. Sorry,
okay, Jacqueline first.
I'm sorry, I had disconnected earlier when you were talking about Trello, about how many parent guides have actually signed up or haven't.
Yeah.
Did you answer that or not? I'm sorry, I missed it.
I did not. Thank you for reminding me. We've only had one guide not complete the process of signing into Trello. So all of you at some point have accepted the invitation except for one. And if for some reason you don't remember how to get into Trello, you can go to the Trello website, and then you in order to accept the invitation, I believe you had to create a password. And so you would just plug in that password information and log in, and they'll take you right to our group. All right, and then Allie?
Hey, I wanted to know, when we were talking about the timesheets, if we're just doing family time, so we're doing the little asterisk, we've been doing some emails back and forth for about, just so we time it at like 15 minutes, we've discussed that that's okay. Would we still need to do like a new progress note? Or can that be like would the next progress note be like a summary of a bunch of emails? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what? I would say that it's not specifically a progress note when you do the 15 minutes per month per family, where it's just like catch up and those miscellaneous things.
Okay.
So in the progress note thing,
say the same number?
Yeah, you can either do, like I've seen some guys kind of like sum up the numbers for that month, or you can just put check-in or monthly in that box, and I would know what that means. When I see 15 minutes, usually, in a bunch of 15 minutes, because, you know, numerous families, I know what's happening.
Okay, so if I, for 1 month, have the 15 minutes for a family and I write progress note 3, but then the next month would be progress note 3 also, or do you want me to just write summary or something?
I would say probably better off just doing recap or summary or monthly.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Good question. Anything else? Okay. We're going to move ahead to the post-test. And again, if I could have my lovely reader assist me on this, that would be fabulous.
I'm back.
Yay.
Okay.
All right.
Post-test.
Yep.
Question number 1. Will Carrie begin maternity leave starting next week? True or false?
All right. Question 2, please.
Question number 2. Our Trello account is for Illinois Hands and Voices and Guide by Your Side members only. True or false?
All right. Question 3.
Number 3, in Trello, you can A, find files, B, see reminders and calendars, C, message other members, D, pin items from online resources, or E, all of the above.
All right. Question 4.
Number 4, there are only 2 guides who did not accept the Trello invite so far. True or false?
All right, question 5.
Question number 5, our annual in-person team training will be A, in Normal, Illinois at ISU, B, June 20th through 21st, 2016, C, during these dates we will be attending the ISTE conference as our training, D, answers A and B only, or E, answers A, B, and C.
All right, excellent. Okay, see, we did get to wrap up a few minutes early. So even with our issues of not being able to connect, we're good. So